Hello and welcome back to the Extra Inning Baseball Show. I am your host, Logan Stump, and with me is the man of all man, of all men, of all man. I don't know what you are, Jordan. Hi, Jordan. How you doing?
I am a professional chase tag player. That is what I am.
Oh, yeah, that was wild. Yeah, so those that don't know what's going on, which is everybody, Jordan texted me last night and said that he was a professional chase tag player, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "On ESPN, what, 2? On the
ESPN
news?"
2, they were playing, chase tag.
Which is absolutely wild. If you have not looked up chase tag, I mean, Jordan, they were like flattening each other or like running into bars and like
Yeah, they have like
climbing
this like
themselves.
jungle gym type thing set up that you have to like run through, and you have to avoid getting tagged for like it looks like 18 seconds, and you get a point, and then they do like kind of like baseball. You do like a series of
Yeah.
them, but it's over way quicker. And I mentioned it was on TV, and my wife was like, "Oh, let's watch that for a second." So I put it on for about 5 minutes, and then
Yeah.
it felt very repetitive. I
Yeah.
will say that much.
Yeah, it did look like it didn't have the longevity of a lot of sports, but it is America's pastime. Tag. It's a fun game that children play, and I'm not going to get into the specifics. But Jordan, I was a fantastic tag player. I was pretty quick, and I had pretty good moves. I was pretty agile on my feet. I don't know how you were as a tag player, but I was a pretty solid hide and seek and tag.
I don't know if I played tag that much as a
Yeah.
kid. Didn't have a lot
I,
of friends.
Yeah, I still don't have friends, but at this point, who's counting? So Jordan, we got a pretty action-packed show today. I guess there's a pretty big series coming up here in
The
about.
world one, yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. I didn't even think that they were inviting other teams from other countries to come in, but I guess we are. It's kind of strange. They call it the World Series, but a couple things happened over the course of a week that we wanted to discuss. Let's start with the Cardinals because the other news makes me sad. The Cardinals go ahead and sign Oliver Marmol. And Jordan, fun fact: Oliver Marmol went to College of Charleston, where I went to college. So that is a fun fact. Don't know who he is. He is roughly 35, I think. So no idea who he is, but I do know he played at College of Charleston and spent his time there as an undergrad. So that's a little fun nugget for you. Cardinals announced their 51st manager in franchise history. He signs a 3-year contract that'll run through the 2024 season. Jordan, we talked about Mike Schilt being fired last week. I guess this guy really likes his stats. Any thoughts on this, or are we pretty neutral? We don't know much about Marmol other than the fact that he's been a bench guy for a long time.
I feel like they've had to have talked, right? But I don't know.
Yeah.
I would have thought the same thing about before they hired Schilt, but I guess not. So I guess we'll see how it goes.
Last 5 seasons with the Cardinals MLB coaching staff, working 2 years as the first base coach. Meant to ask my brother how he felt about this one. He's a big Cardinals fan, but again, they're known for these weird hires, so kudos to them, I guess. This will probably work out pretty well in his favor. They seem to always do well in these spots, which is kind of unfortunate if you're a Cubs fan. The next big headline, Jordan, this one is one that we knew was coming, and we've just literally dealt with this with another sport that we cover in the Stateside Soccer Show. MLS was doing a lockdown. Now MLB almost certain to have its first work stoppage in 26 years per report. Jordan, they have until December 1st at 11:59 Eastern time to get a done deal. And it's stated that negotiations have been taking place since last spring, and each side thinks that the other has not made proposals that will lead toward an agreement, replacing the 5-year contract that expires again on December 1st at 11:59. Looks like it is going to come down to December 1st, Jordan, and it looks like they might actually get their work stoppage in. I know you've had a lot of thoughts about just kind of how they handle some of their players, and the CBA has been pretty adamant about how they've handled their baseball players, especially rookies. Are you shocked by this? Would you be shocked if it hits that work stoppage? Because I think it's coming.
I don't think I'd be shocked. I feel like this is the really consistent sport that always has this trouble. when we look at it. They're either I feel like consistently getting locked out or striking. Like 94, having the strike, having no World Series that year. Just always hearing about this type of stuff. And we had the issues with the shortened 2020 season, how long it took them to come to an agreement on coming back for that due to the owners. It's going to be rough. December 1st is my sister and also my wife's birthday. So going to be quite a day for a few reasons on that day, having 3 big events that day. But I would not be shocked if it is not done. But I also wouldn't be shocked if we don't have that much of a shorter season next year. I do think that they could probably work things out before the reporting for spring training, because there's a lot to be done here. I mean, I feel like if they're in strikes or if they're in negotiations where still, with all the free agents that are supposed to be hitting the market, they wouldn't be able to sign teams. They would be losing money. I feel like eventually at some point this would get done, but who knows?
Yeah, and for those that don't know, the Major League Baseball Players Association has been ambitious in negotiating dwindling share of league revenues. They want to push back on the tanking phenomenon that seems to be running rampant through the Orioles organization.
Just
Orioles, not the Marlins or anybody else. Texas. So
a team in the World Series this year, they never tanked.
Yeah, or they might not have tanked, Jordan, but they might have banged on trash can. Oh, you're talking about the Braves.
I meant the Astros.
Oh, did you? Okay.
They had 3 straight 100-loss seasons.
That's true. That is very true. Pushing back against those and making teams non-competitive. And then the biggest thing was, again, we alluded to this a little bit, but to address the service time manipulations by clubs. And Chris Bryant had this happen to him when he was a Cub. And it kind of sucked as a fan because I was looking forward to 162 games from him, but you ended up not getting it. But for those that don't know, service time, and this is quoted from one of the articles that is written on service time. Service time is the amount of time that a player has been on an active MLB roster or on the injured list. A player becomes a free agent at the end of the season where they reach 6 years of service time. 1 year of service time. The maximum amount a player can gain in one season is 172 days. A single baseball season lasts 187. So as long as they held them down, it's like 15 days in between there. They get 1 more year of their service. This really sucks because the contracts, obviously, especially for some of these big players, I mean, they're making pennies based on what they would make in that 6th year. After that 6th year, they're going to be making fortunes. And I know that this has held back a lot of players. I think Juan Soto has also been one that, I guess correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that he's one that also had the service issue. But it really does. It's unfair to the players. They need to figure it out. There's no way that 15 days should really, like, what do you have to gain by holding him back 2 weeks? They fix the issue.
Year. That's
right. Yeah. Fix the issue. But it's such a huge deal for these players. They're losing so much money. And I think that the MLB is just dirty for treating their players like this. And if you look around the leagues, I think MLB might be one of the worst as far as player treatment. Just because I think we talked about the AAA, AA, minor league systems and stuff getting paid like they did. And then treating them like this even longer when they should be in the majors to start that season. It seems like they just constantly have a battle going against their players and trying to keep them oppressed in a way. So it really is a shame that baseball's gotten to this. But I do, Jordan, I think we will see a lockout, which really sucks because they're going to be here in Orlando for the winter baseball meetings. So our official launch will be around hopefully December 1st. But knowing how things are going, Jordan and I might once again be waiting on the lockout news, which is always a really horrible game to play because nobody ever seems to know what's going on. Really sucks. But let's lighten the load a little bit here, Jordan. Let's talk some real fun stuff. The World Series is coming up tomorrow night. Jordan, I'm pumped. This is probably my favorite final of any sport, even the Super Bowl, even as hyped as the Super Bowl is. I love the World Series, like you and I've talked about. We're finally into that point where it should be cold in most places, except the places that these two teams are going to play. So there's no cold weather unless you consider 70 degrees cold, which, if you're Floridian, I guess you would. But it's going to be the Houston Astros and the Atlanta Braves. The Atlanta Braves beat the Los Angeles Dodgers in their series, and the Braves take 4 of 2 against the Dodgers. Jordan, I think a lot of people were really kind of rooting against the Braves at this point because they wanted to see a Dodgers and Houston Astro matchup because of the cheating scandal that took place. Are you, one, shocked that the Braves were able to kind of dethrone the Dodgers and throw them back home into LA? And 2, are you looking forward to the Braves getting their first crack at the World Series? I think, what is it, 22 years? 1999? Yeah, 21. You shocked? You excited?
I'm not shocked. If I remember correctly, last week I said these teams were going to win it all. So I feel like it's a win-win for me right now. No, I did pick that they were going to do it. I got a little scared at later that night. I think it was that the Dodgers won like 11-2, and Chris Taylor hit like 3 home runs and had this monstrous game. But then right after that, the Braves were able to kind of get it back on track. And let's see, that game was
game
was that Wednesday
5.
or
that been
Thursday?
Thursday.
I know Friday was
Thursday.
Friday was the Houston game, right?
Yeah, Thursday was the Braves and Dodgers game 5, 11-2. That was the Chris Taylor game.
Oh no! And then the Braves went until Saturday, right?
Yeah, they won Saturday. They took the series on Saturday. Okay. Yeah, 4-2.
Because they moved that game to 8:00 instead of it was originally going to be 5:00, and then if the Astros game, if the Astros had not won on Friday, that one was going to be the later game, and then they switched it around. But yeah, I mean, this was maybe I'm a little bit surprised when it comes to I didn't think that they would probably get this far. I mean, we know it's a surprise for Logan. He didn't think they were going to score a run in the NLDS.
I don't remember saying that.
I can play the clip.
I don't think you should.
But yeah, so I think I am. I'm not that shocked. But I mean, also, I got a lot wrong this postseason anyway, right? So I mean, the fact that I hopped on these two teams bandwagon after they were already up in the series, I don't really think counts that much. But it is shocking. The Dodgers had a whole bunch of pitching. They just, Scherzer is dead arm, and they're about to lose a whole bunch of these players. Scherzer's a free agent. Got a few players Dodgers have coming up that are free agents. While I think the Braves are pretty set. I mean, they're even going to get Ronald Acuna Jr. back, next year. Yeah. So that's feeling pretty good. You have Houston, who doesn't have Lance McCullers, right? He just said today there's no way he's pitching in the World Series, but he'll be back for spring training. So, I mean, we thought right before, Houston doesn't have any pitching, they're going to be in some trouble. I did not think that though. But then, then Red Sox started shelling them at some point, and I was like, oh geez, I'm going to be wrong on this. And but Houston was able to do it without their pitching and figure it out, and that's why these teams are in the postseason. I mean, in the World Series at this point. I mean, it's just great. I don't think at the start of the season I would have picked Astros Braves, but again, this is nobody like 20 some years here without a repeat champion. This is pretty great.
Yeah. No, it was a lot of fun to watch the Dodgers and Braves series. I know that game where Cody Bellinger hits a home run to go up, and that's when I started to feel like, Jordan, the momentum started to shift. But then the Braves grab it right back. There was a little bit of a rocky moment there where I thought possibly that the Dodgers were going to finally get back in and crawl back into the series. But the Braves were pretty good about knocking that and extinguishing that fire. A fun fact for the Braves, back in June, Jordan, they definitely didn't think they were going to be sitting in the World Series, the Fall Classic, 6 games back in June, and not over 500 until August 6th. This is a team that since August 1st went 43-22 and now is 7-3 in the postseason. And you and I talked about this heading into the playoffs, and I think this is more so with this sport than any other sport. If you get hot in baseball, you are really, really hard to defeat. And I think that's what's happened, right? Freddie Freeman, who has struggled tremendously in the postseason and really didn't have that much of a season, and especially towards the end, he really struggled some. He seems to have found the things that make him click, which have been fantastic. Eddie Rosario wins NLCS MVP, and he was acquired from Cleveland at the trade deadline. This is a huge acquisition now that you look at this. Jordan, here's his numbers. Hit .560, 14 for 25 with 3 home runs and 9 RBI, with a franchise record 14 hits in the postseason. It's guys like these. We talked about this before, where guys come up out of the woodworks in Major League Baseball's postseason, and they become heroes. And I think that you see this a lot with a lot of role players, guys that you wouldn't really think. I think if you're thinking about players on this team, you think Dan Swansby. You think about Austin Riley. You think about Freddie Freeman. You might think Jorge Soler, Jock Peterson, the way he had been hitting. But no. It's a different story, and it's a lot more fun when it's Rosario, right?
Yeah, I mean, he just was on another level, and this is what we were talking about like kind of last week. Not to poo-poo stats, but sometimes stats can't tell you if somebody's just hot. Like if they're just seeing the ball well, they're just seeing the ball well. It's kind of hard to break that down. Like, there's been times when somebody could be a role player, like you said, that'll just come in and put it together. And the thing is, I remember seeing Braves Twitter, all like, when are we going to start making some moves here? Because we're kind of flailing around here. And let's not forget that they wouldn't be in this position if it wasn't for the fall of the Mets either. I mean, the Mets spent 100 some games in first place and completely collapsed. You had the Phillies kind of collapse as they were the first 2 teams. It was like Mets, Phillies, and Braves were in third for a good chunk of the season before they just came up at the end and won it with 88 wins, which we all talked about at the beginning as like what? Logan didn't even want to have them follow the, he didn't want to give them a path with the when you were talking about how to restructure playoffs and not have it go off of division wins. I mean, but that's what the Braves were able to do that. And they were able to get to this point because of that. And again, with Acuna Jr. out, and then they've added, Jock Peterson, they added Rosario. I mean, they went out and added people that they needed to get. And, Rosario ends up being the NLCS MVP. And I think this is going to be a pretty interesting matchup against the Astros because I feel like both of these teams have been kind of hitting the cover off the ball a little bit.
A fun thing that I want to talk about, Jordan, and you and I, we were texting. I think it was definitely this game. It was game 3, right? The Dodgers win this one 6-5. This was the Cody Bellinger blast. Absolutely hammers a high fastball. But really, I mean, to be honest with you, their bullpen pitching was the reason why they were in the situation to hang on. But you and I talked about this too, where using this much of the bullpen has just become disastrous for teams. Walker Buehler gets the start. He goes 3 2/3 inning, gives up 6 hits, 2 earned runs, walks 3, and that was really his issue. He just couldn't locate any of his pitches. The guys were just hammering him, and he was giving up walks, and the walks were really what broke the camel's back. But then it goes Alex Vizia, Corey Knebel, Phil Bickford, Justin Burrell, Joe Kelly, Evan Phillips, Tony Gonsolin, and then Kenley Jansen, who was absolutely superb in the NLCS. But that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 relievers, Jordan, and not a single one really, besides Kenley Jansen and Evan Phillips, go any one of an inning. They go a third of an inning, or a third of an inning, 2/3 of an inning, 2/3 of an inning, a third of an inning. The way that baseball's trending, Jordan, what happened to these 5 or 6 inning pitchers? I mean, is is this the end of that need for a 5th to 6th inning guy? A guy that can throw 200 and some innings, because it seems to be the end.
We saw a tweet that kind of made fun of this, saying that we're 3 or 4 years away from some young GM discovering the starting pitcher, right? Because I don't think it is the end. I think this actually shows why you need it. The Rays follow this type of thing. The Dodgers follow this type of thing. Yes, both were in the postseason last year, but it was a year with less innings pitched when you only had the 60 games. And this year you have all these innings pitched through the 162, and then they get to the playoffs and they have, issue. I mean, the Dodgers probably wouldn't be in this bad of a spot if they didn't have the injury to like Kershaw and, some of the other injuries that they've had for their pitchers. But a little bit, I feel like it's a little overthinking, almost where they're playing the game in reverse. I'll start with my setup guy. I'll go to my closer in inning 2. And then I'll do my starting pitcher for the rest of another 5 innings. And then I'll put out another bullpen guy. One that's bringing your starter in a spot where they're not comfortable. You're also starting your, closers and setup guys and times where they're not used to. And I feel like really they only did that out of either necessity or the fact that they're like, I want to see this. I'll start the game off with 102-mile-an-hour pitches.
Yeah.
That makes it hard for them to get off to a lead. But then when you get to the starter and then they're not comfortable, then they're going to only go a few innings. And then, I don't know. I mean, we've seen both ways. We've seen starters go out there normally and then also get shelled in this. So I think it's a little overthinking at times. And I think that, they did, 3 of these type of games where they start with like Knable and then just go to other people after that. And it gets real confusing. And to be honest, I don't think they played well, and maybe one of those games was one they won, but
against San Francisco was the game they won.
And then I think other than that, they've kind of struggled with that kind of concept, and I'm not really sure what the thought process was behind that.
It's really weird to me as a person that has played the game and knowing what it's like for a starting pitcher as far as the mental prep and just kind of the I guess the pregame stuff they go through and then kind of in-game stuff they go through and getting the mindset. Stuff, it's more mental. And while I do think like there could be a good way to do this eventually later on, it's not with these guys, because these guys, you're talking about 35-year-olds, 36-year-olds, anybody from the age of like 23 to 39, 40, whatever age they are, these guys have been used to being starting pitchers or used to being middle relief guys or closers or setup men. You can't just you can't, I don't know, you can't, remake the wheel, I guess, reinvent the wheel, right? You've got to have some consistency. The Braves did it too. They threw Drew Smyly, I think, who hadn't pitched for like weeks. They're like, yeah, why not, right? They're doing it, so why not us? It just becomes this point where it's like a roulette of who do you want to pitch, and we're just going to start naming guys out of the bullpen who, might have thrown a day ago or 5 weeks ago, or it just seems like there's a long list of guys that they could have gone with. But instead they go with this collection of bullpen arms, and I just don't know where that's going to be effective. And not to mention, I love how in the majors and in the regular season, how important it is for a guy to get quality starts, right? Talking about 5 innings and plus, and without giving up as many runs, right? And now it gets to the postseason, and it's like the whole script changes, and you're like, oh, well, then now we need our bullpen guys to throw 3 innings. And these guys are like closers throwing 2 or 3 innings. It just doesn't work. It's not the mindset. It's not the adrenaline. I think part of it comes from the fact that, like these guys are throwing like 105 miles an hour at times. But if we could sacrifice some velocity for control, I think that you wouldn't need to go out there and throw bullpen games. I feel like a lot of players get injured for trying to just top out the velocity because that's what everybody's obsessed with. Oh, that was 105 miles an hour. Oh, that was 99. And, but if you have good control,
then they're not going to hit it anyway, no matter what the speed is, because you're putting it somewhere they can't get it, or
Right.
is in their weak spot. And eventually, yeah, some little things will happen where they'll score every so often or whatever. But I don't know. I feel like this let's go full velocity is kind of what's ruining pitching
Mm-hmm.
when we talk about that, because I think it's hurting their arms, which is then causing these issues where they're like, we got to get the bullpen in here and fill out a game because we have 3 starter injuries.
Right. Fun stat, heading into the World Series, Jordan, relievers have thrown 54% of postseason innings. For the Astros, it's been 57%, and for the Braves, 49%. And they probably have been the least of the two that are guilty of using all their bullpen. Maybe them and the Red Sox. The Red Sox still seem to go the traditional way. The Brewers as well, because they've got 3 guys that are like a 3-headed monster. But again, that's insane to have that many postseason innings eaten up by relievers. The fact that we're going to see even more here as we get into the World Series is even crazier. But before we get to the World Series and kind of previewing what's going on, let's talk a little bit about the ALCS on the other side, because it was a series, Jordan, that I thought Boston had. It literally. I thought going into when we started recording on Monday, the game was going on Monday, and it was Boston, I believe, was up 2-0 in this. Was it 2-0 in the series that they were up? Yes. No, 1-1.
It was
but
1-1,
smashing in the
right?
Astros, yeah.
But and in those 3 games, I think right after we got done recording, they hit a grand slam, right? Like they had 3 grand slams in the first 3 games. Yep. And you're like, this is ridiculous. How is this gonna, what's gonna happen? And then their bats just get cold.
Yes. Bats get cold and their pitching gets awful. Again, the Red Sox lead 2-1 heading out of Boston. 2-1 and still in Boston. I'm sorry. They were 2-1 in Boston. And then Game 4 and Game 5. Game 4, the Astros 9-2 against the Red Sox. That game was over quick. I remember texting you going, yes, it's over. I could go to bed. And it was the same way the next night. Again, the Astros, there was a game. Maybe it wasn't that. Was it one of the games went like into the 8th inning and they were still pretty close. I think it was Game 3. I think Game 4 was the one that wasn't close. But again, the Astros just kind of come into this where they just hit the ball all over the place, right? And as they've been known to do. Really smash in the Red Sox pitching. Their Red Sox bullpen is awful if you can get to it. It's probably one of the weaker ones when you came into the actual ALCS. But when Houston gets to their bullpen, 9-2, 9-1, those are some smashing and some drubbings. And then they just complete the finale and knock out the Red Sox when they get back home. Really, it was a tale of, again, I think 2 different teams. The early on Red Sox and the later after Game 3 Astros that really kind of sealed this deal for Houston.
Yeah, Game 4 is that one where it was a 2-0 lead for the Red Sox, right? Yeah. And then they bring in Eovaldi late into the game. I think in the 9th inning, Eovaldi is pitching, and it's Houston had tied it up to 2-2, and Eovaldi thought he threw strike 3. It's a missed call, I think, here. It was pretty close. And it leads to like the next pitch being another hit that scores some runs, and then it ends up being a 9-run inning for the Astros to give them a 9-2 lead. And think about that. If they go in bottom of the 9th, tied 2-2, you're probably betting on the Red Sox to win that. And that would have put them 3-1 up with having 3 straight wins. But instead, it finishes 9-2 Astros as the floodgates opened, and then the Astros win 9-1 the next day, and then win 5-0 on Friday. So it kind of went from the total pendulum went from one side where you're like, I think we were all following that game, and you're like, oh, it is, 2-0 going late into this game. Red Sox probably have it to. Which would put them only 1 game away from the World Series to then swing in the total opposite way, where then the Astros are going to run off 3 straight wins of pretty big wins too, not even like close wins.
Right. Yeah, they really grab a hold of the series, and honestly, you just kind of felt the Red Sox like it was like they got deflated quickly. Once the bats went quiet, I think the Red Sox realized they don't have quite the pitching to kind of keep up with the Houston bats, and once that became something of a problem, it really turned quickly. You started to see guys who have been good in the past start to rear their heads. Good postseason baseball players. And I think you're going to see that coming up in this series, right? I think you're going to see some pretty good Braves pitching against a very good Astros lineup. An Astros lineup that is probably the deepest, obviously, and most complete that we talked about in the preview. Jose Altuve, Michael Brantley, Bregman, Alvarez, Correa. And speaking of Alvarez, wins ALCS MVP. He hits 522, 12 for 23 with a homer, 5 extra base hits, 7 runs scored, Jordan, and 6 RBI with a 1.408 OPS in the series. He absolutely crushes the ball and becomes the 4th Cuban-born player to win MVP of the league championship series, which is pretty cool for him. And Jordan, I mean, this adds another name because a lot of people know Correa, they know Bregman, they know Brantley, they know Altuve. Kyle Tucker's been good. Yuli Gurriel's been really good. Now you add in this, he's a number 4 hitter. He's their DH. He's their big whopping bat. It just seems like this Astro team knows how to build a roster and a lineup. I want to ask you, Jordan, did Boston, with Boston having the lineup that they do, maybe Tampa having the lineup they do, is there a better lineup in baseball than the Houston Astros?
Probably not. I mean, look, at some point, Yordan Alvarez had like the same amount of hits as the Red Sox in the last 3 games. Okay. Yeah. It was like at one point he had went 8 for 12.
Yeah.
While they had went 8 for 90 or something. Right. Like that is insane how cold the Red Sox got, but how hot the Astros got. I mean, It is just, I mean, I remember early in this series, like Altuve's batting like 1 something and, but they had other players pick them up through this thing. I mean, he batted, Yordan Alvarez batted a 522 in the series against Boston. He had 12 hits out of 26 plate appearances and out of 23 at-bats. I mean, that's insane.
Right.
That is insane. Even against the White Sox, he was, batting 273. He only played, 4 games in that case and had 3 hits out of 11 at-bats, but he got hot during this trip against Boston and rightfully MVP of the ALCS. I don't know who else you would even think of putting there, but and it just makes their lineup that much more dangerous. I mean, he's only 24. He's been in the majors only since 2019. Last year, it looks like he barely played. I'm not sure if he was injured.
He had knee injuries, yeah.
Yeah, okay. 2 games where he played last year and only 9 plate appearances. So yeah, that just adds another level to it. But this is probably the Astros. I'm not going to say their last shot, but their last shot with this team because Carlos Correa is going to be probably signing elsewhere, and you're going to have some sort of overturn there, I think. But I think we got to probably say about Dusty Baker as well. I don't think it's just like a lineup that you can just put out and do whatever you want. Dusty Baker, very respected coming in here. I thought it was funny. I read a stat too that his first professional game was against the Astros as a Brave. And now he's, managing the Astros against the Braves. So it kind of came back full circle. And I saw another stat on Friday at one point that he had like the same amount of hits as a player as he had games won as a manager, which is like 2,000 something. It was an insane stat and shows that he's not just a good manager, but he's a good player too. I think a lot of times people don't think that just because of how long he's been manager, we kind of forget about how he was as a player.
Right.
But I definitely think that he's changed the culture a bit there. Hopefully there's no more cheating under Dusty Baker.
Yeah.
I don't think he would allow that. But yeah, I just think that he's kind of changed things for the better for the team, and watch out. I'm assuming he's probably coming back there next year, right? I don't think that they're just gonna. I don't think he's retiring yet.
Yeah. So again, Houston meeting Atlanta in the World Series. And Jordan, we can talk about a couple storylines here. And you mentioned one, kind of alluded to one, sort of. Dusty Baker has the most wins and is one of the most highly regarded managers that does not have a World Series ring. And he could very well get his very first with the Houston Astros. And like you said, with this lineup, it stands a pretty good chance to grab a World Series and win the Fall Classic. I mean, when talking about managers, Dusty Baker is quietly one of the best and one of the more respected coaches when you talk to other coaches around the league. From what I've always understood, and when he was with the Cubs in the early 2000s, he was always really well liked. The players like him. He's very good at connecting with players. And I think that if there's a manager out there that I could possibly think of, he's probably the one that I think is most deserving of a ring that hasn't had the opportunity to grab one yet. You agree with that? Do you think that he stands a really good chance? I mean, are we getting to a point where we can kind of deem the Astros probably his best chance he's ever gotten?
Yeah. I mean, but how many times has he gotten to a World Series?
I want to say it's been 3. This will be his 3rd, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought I read somewhere.
I'll look it up. Okay. He's been a manager since '93. He has, let's see,
closest in 2002 to San Francisco. Maybe he's only been once.
So he won the NL pennant, as a Giant, and then won the AL pennant this year.
Yeah, so once.
So this is his second trip. His second trip. That's pretty crazy. Not something. I'd say this is best chance. I don't really remember the 2002 Giants.
Yeah.
But who were they playing against then? 2002 Giants. They played against the Anaheim Angels.
And that was a really good team because that would have been that was Tim Salmon, I think, and all those guys. Garrett Anderson.
Listen to this team. They had Kenny Lynn. Of course, they had Barry Bonds, JT Snow, Benito Santiago, Jeff Kent, Rich Aurelia, David Bell, Reggie Sanders. I mean, they had a pretty good squad of hitters in 2002. But yeah, I definitely would look at probably these Astros and say this is his best chance.
Yeah.
But I'll go out on a limb here. I'm saying the Braves win the World Series. I know we haven't gotten to that part, but I am thinking the Braves are going to win this. It just feels like their year. And I think that, when they do the parade in Atlanta, you'll see lots of pearl necklaces getting thrown around like it's Mardi Gras.
That's a good shout. And if you haven't been following, Jock Peterson's been wearing pearl necklaces. I saw a bunch of TikToks where guys are going and putting the pearl necklaces on of like their wives or girlfriends or whatever. And like, what are you doing? And they're like, they turn around awkwardly, go, "It's Jocktober, don't you know?"
Well, they better hope that Jocktober extends into Jockvember because the World Series will be going into November at least.
That's a good one. That's a really funny one. All right, so Braves, not Dodgers. Braves lineup. You got guys like Eddie Rosario, Freddie Freeman, Ozzie Albies, Austin Riley, Adam Duvall, Jock Peterson, Dansby Swanson, and Travis d'Ormeaux, and that is who usually wraps out. Jorge Soler, I don't know if he'll be back from the COVID. I'm assuming he is because he pinched it in the last game, so obviously. But who knows with COVID and all the protocols? I don't know if it was, he tests positive. But again, I think that it just depends on the situation, and I hope everybody stays healthy for this one because it's more fun when everybody has everybody ready to go. That's who the Braves have. I mean, guys that you're looking out for, Jordan, any names pop out to you? for the Braves?
I would say just the same ones. I mean that they've
Yeah.
been slaying it so far. I mean I don't think I can pull a name out more than who's been killing. I mean I think even Freddie Freeman's been coming around a bit. Austin Riley's kind of slowed down a bit from how hot he was earlier. And of course you have Jock and Rosario and stuff.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't know if Rosario has the same sort of
World Series
streak in the World Series.
Yeah.
But I was just looking at the schedule, and actually, if the Braves sweep or even win 4 out of 5, it would still be Jocktober by the time the World Series ends. So
that's wild. Yeah, because it usually, if you can get into November, that stops Jock from hitting. No, I'm kidding. So again, I read out those Astros last time, but Altuve, Brantley, Bregman, Alvarez, Correa, Kyle Tucker, Yuli Gurriel. That's a fun name. Chas McCormick and Martin Maldonado. Names there, Jordan. Obviously, I think it's the top 4 or 5 that we've all heard before. Anybody who you predicting has a not great series? Anybody on this team that you're figuring maybe doesn't have the great series because the Braves seems to be who you're leaning towards?
No, I don't have any because I'm actually going to go out on a limb as well here and say that this will be like a shootout. Like okay. I don't think pitching will be as good here in this series.
Right.
So I'm thinking it's going to be both teams hitting pretty well. I will say I don't know if I'll see the Braves steal a lot in this because let me tell you, I saw Maldonado throw out whoever it was on the Red Sox, I forget, that was stealing, and they had him like dead to rights, man.
Right.
Just absolutely dead to rights. So I probably wouldn't be stealing if I'm a Brave.
Yeah, Maldonado's got a cannon. And
if I'm an Astro, I'm probably not stealing signs.
Yeah, yeah. Maldonado's got a cannon, and he's been known for that. He doesn't hit real well. That's why he sits down at the bottom. But I mean, when I say he doesn't hit well, he really does not hit well. Very much a defensive catcher. And I think that you will. I think you're going to see, like you said, Jordan, a high-scoring series. I think that both teams seem to be hitting their stride and have guys that I think can provide a lot of pop in their bats. And I think that the Braves, while I think that the Houston Astros have a better lineup, I think the Braves might have the slight edge when you're talking about maybe getting more consistent innings out of their starters. Again, we talked about the Astros having injury issues. And they're going to be out without Lance McCullers Jr., which is a huge loss.
Mm-hmm.
Fromber is going to get the start in that first game against the Astros. And I think that this first game is going to be huge. I think there's probably a huge percentage as to whoever wins the first game goes on to usually win the series. And I think that you're going to kind of see that same thing here. I think that it's going to be an important game to get good starting pitching. And when you look at the probables coming up, it's Charlie Morton versus Fromber Valdez. Valdez has moments where he's been really good, has moments where he's not been so good, can kind of lose control here a little bit, and does not pitch as well when he can't locate his fastball. Charlie Morton, I think, is an interesting one because of how well he pitched throughout the season. I think that with the Braves throwing Charlie, it might be your best bet to really get a leg up on Houston, because I think if Houston gets out to a pretty quick start in game 1 because it's at Houston, I think that this might turn into the Braves chasing the Astros. And the Braves are known for their late inning antics. So I think that it's going to be difficult if you rely heavily on coming back in the games just because of how dominant the Houston team can be. And especially during the postseason, they seem to have a different gear that not many have. So I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I think if you're giving slight edges, I think you give slight edge to the Houston Astros hitting. I think you give a slight edge to the Braves starting pitching. I think the bullpen game's going to be a toss-up. I think that'll be a huge determining factor because of all the bullpen innings that have been used by both of these teams, almost 50%, both of them. And the Astros with 57, Braves at 49. I think it turns out to be who can win on the road. Can the Braves sneak a couple games away from the Astros, and can the Astros go into, I think they call it, what is it? It's not SunTrust, is it? I don't know what their new stadium's called. It used to be SunTrust.
It's Truist.
Sure.
SunTrust
Truist, that's what it is.
became Truist.
Yeah, that's what it is. Okay, so that's what they try to get you. But again, Jordan, let's run down the schedule before we start heading into some predictions here. And then we'll kind of wrap up by telling everybody what's going on over the next couple months and after the World Series and everything else like that. So, Atlanta at Houston, 8:09 Eastern Time, Tuesday, October 26th on Big Fox, as Jordan would say. Charlie Morton and Framber Valdez. Then you've got Wednesday, October 27th, Atlanta at Houston, 8:09 on Big Fox. And that game is Wednesday, October 27th. Friday, October 29th, Houston at Atlanta, 8:09. All of these seem to be 8 o'clock starts, so that's good. Big Fox, Saturday, October 30th, Houston at Atlanta, 8:09, Big Fox. And then Sunday, Halloween, October 31st, Houston at Atlanta, 8:15 on Big Fox. And then games 6 and 7, if needed, are going to be Tuesday, November 2nd, Atlanta at Houston, 8:09 on Big Fox. And Wednesday, November 3rd, Jordan, would be game 7, which we are all hoping for, I'm sure. Atlanta at Houston, 8:09 on Big Fox. All national, all televised. And after some MLS games that are really important too. So if you want to go catch us over on there on Stateside Soccer Show, you can go catch us over there, and then we'll be covering the baseball games after. So, Jordan, I want to ask you, what is your prediction, since you kind of already alluded to it? How many games, and who is your World Series champion?
I'll say Braves in 5.
Oh, Braves in 5.
Braves in 5.
All right. I am going to go Astros in 4. I'm going to say they sweep out the Braves.
I have another prediction as well.
Okay.
I couldn't find an actual stat on this, so I don't know. I can just claim I'm right, I guess, when it happens.
Yes.
But I'm going to say this has the record number of walk-offs in a World Series.
That's a pretty good one.
There's only been, I think, 7 walk-off. Oh,
total? 7
World Series that have ended in a walk-off. But I'm trying to find out how many games in a World Series has ended in a walk-off, because, you know, with this Braves team always coming up late, and even this Astros team sometimes coming back late, I feel like it's just going to be a lot of walk-offs going on.
Yeah.
But I can't find the stat.
Yeah, that's a really good shout.
If it has more than 1, I think I'll say I was right, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm going to go with another bold prediction, say the Braves score 1 run. Just so I can give the Braves some good juice going into it. So, yeah, Jordan, by next Monday when we record again, or whenever we record again, I don't know when we're recording again. Jordan, I have no idea when we're recording. We might record even more before this or whatever happens. But if we do record on Monday, Jordan, we might have a World Series winner, depending on when we get the next episode out. If we feel like it's urgent, maybe we jump on sometime later on this week or something. I don't know. But if not, expect an episode hopefully next Monday, and we might be recapping a World Series winner or previewing Game 6 of the World Series that'll take place on Tuesday, November 2nd at 8:09 Eastern Time. Other than that, I want to get into maybe a little bit about what's coming up, what's coming down the pipeline. Jordan, by November, we should be done with the season. Then we have a whole month off before what could be the baseball meetings or what could be a lockout. Coming up, we're going to be doing some team previews. I hope we can get some guests on to talk some team previews. We're going to talk some winter meetings, if those ever happen, some free agency, some trade rumors and dealings, maybe some managerial changes, some front office changes. Maybe there's stuff announced on the CBA and all sorts of different things that are considered, the Major League Baseball, not the CBA, Major League Baseball Players Association maybe will unveil some of the new findings that they have in their agreement with Major League Baseball to continue the season next year. Again, that deadline is December 1st at 11:59 Eastern. So looking forward to hopefully not having a lockout. But really looking forward to the winter, Jordan. I know that you're probably not as much as far as the weather's concerned, but are you excited for the winter, Jordan? Our first official launch episode will hopefully be starting on December 2nd when the winter meetings are full blown in play, and there's a lot of signings to be made this offseason.
Yeah, I am. I think it'll be fun kind of covering a season as a whole, but also kind of starting with this. But it'll also be nice to take a little bit of a break. One thing that I've been working on lately is I know I've been working on this for a while, but I will say I've been kind of stuck narratively on how I'm conveying this. But my Shohei Ohtani videos for when I visited Camden Yards and saw Shohei Ohtani pitch, I'm about probably halfway maybe done. I don't know. That, and then I'm going to be also releasing our Citizens Bank Park episode as well, like of the baseball bucket list.
Yeah.
Which is on YouTube, and it's where I go around to like all these various baseball places. I got a lot coming down the pipeline for that next year as well. If everything goes right, I'm going to try to get to some more stadiums, get to some, Little League World Series, stuff like that. That'll be a lot of fun, but I think once we kind of take this break after the playoffs, I'll really be able to kind of dig down and work on the videos and get those uploaded. I don't know, probably one a month, I would think. So like I'm doing one Shohei video that'll probably be up in November or December. Right. And then the Citizens Bank Park one would probably be December or January. Just no rush on those because I don't want to put them out like, like a day apart and then be like, well, you guys have no content for the rest of the year,
No more.
That's probably the plan for those videos.
Jordan might get to a point because he has 37 podcasts where he might just start putting it all out at once. So that way you guys have content to consume. So if you want to listen to any of the other podcasts, Marvel Infinity something, what is it?
Yeah, to the Infinity Saga and Beyond,
right.
A Marvel MCU fan podcast. I just released an episode of that, which was not Marvel related. I have a side series on that called Elseworlds, where I talked a recap of DC fandom, talking about some DC comic movies coming out. The next episode of the MCU podcast will probably be talking about some of the release date pushes. And also Eternals is coming out in early November after the World Series, so November 5th. So I'll probably go see that and do a review then. And we have Stateside Soccer Show, which is going to be all about U.S. men's national team, MLS, and other American soccer, where we'll be talking the push. Where pretty much once these World Series done, we're going to be talking about decision day for MLS and who gets into playoffs for Major League Soccer and who's going to win MLS Cup. And earlier today, Logan and Matt, one of our friends, recorded Stoppage Time Soccer Show, our English Premier League soccer podcast. I was looking at bringing Pod Awakens back for some more Star Wars stuff, maybe. I don't know if I have time. But and then I'm going to be starting to stream some more Pokemon and Star Wars video games coming up soon in November. So got a lot going on. I had to start scheduling out the times I'm going to record all those. So I already told Joy, like, okay, I'm waking up at this time and I'm just banging out this many videos and editing them and all that. So lots of stuff coming your way. So you can follow us on Twitter, Extra Innings Show there, but you can also follow me on Twitter at Cravens86 for more of that.
Yeah. And you can follow us along on Facebook, Extra Innings Baseball Show, Instagram, Extra Innings Baseball Show. We are the Extra Innings Baseball Show. You can find us on anywhere you get your podcasts. Please head over, like, subscribe, tweet, whatever you do to make this podcast blow up. We're really looking forward to this World Series Fall Classic. We're looking forward to hopefully a really good series. I'm hoping for 7 games because those are always more fun, and the story keeps going on, and the narrative does too. Looking forward to the postseason, the offseason, looking forward to the end of the postseason, offseason, winter meetings, and hopefully, Jordan, looking better for our clubs in 2022, Orioles and the Cubs. If you like what you heard, again, rate us on iTunes or wherever you can find us to rate us. And we appreciate you guys hanging out with us. We will see you hopefully again soon. And I guess that's it for us. Go Braves. Go Braves.
Yes, go Braves. The Extra Innings Baseball Show is hosted by Logan Stump, edited and produced by Jordan Wiegand, and we hope that everybody enjoys us talking some baseball in this MLB 2022 season that is upcoming. Thank you.